My wife won a $9 million jackpot, filed for divorce, and kicked me out, but she forgot about the prenup her parents forced me to sign before marriage. My now ex-wife won $9 million, thought she could toss me aside and keep it all. But her rich parents forced me to sign a prenup that ended up screwing her over. I walked away with most of the winnings and my pride intact. Let me start off by saying, I never wanted her money. I never expected the money. I didn't even want the prenup. But life has a funny way of serving poetic justice on a silver platter. The background. So, about 7 years ago, I, am 34 at the time, married my college sweetheart, Melissa, F33. We'd been together since junior year and made it through a long-distance relationship, job changes, and the typical early 20s chaos. Melissa came from serious money, like, they have a family office, kind of money. Her dad is some big-shot real estate mogul in Florida and her mom has an art gallery that mostly sells pieces I swear she buys herself just for appearances. When we got engaged, her parents insisted we sign a prenup. I was making decent money, software dev, $120,000 salary, good benefits, but nowhere near their league. I didn't care. I was in love, and I wasn't marrying her for her money. So I agreed. What they didn't realize was that their lawyer drafted the prenup a little too thoroughly. I'll explain in a sec. The marriage. For the first few years, everything was fine. Melissa wasn't exactly affectionate, but she was my partner. We traveled, hosted parties, and we even talked about kids. But things started to change when her parents handed her a consulting position at one of the family companies. She was pulling 6 figures for doing basically nothing. Suddenly, brunch with the right people was more important than movie night. She started treating me more like a roommate than a husband. Then, about 2 years ago, she got really into scratch-offs. Not like a few here and there. I mean, she'd drop hundreds a week on them. I joked that it was her version of gambling since her parents hated casinos. Then lightning struck, she won. $9 million. Lump sum after taxes, around $6.2 million. I was shocked, excited for her, of course, but also kinda amazed that her obsession actually paid off. She seemed off about it. I didn't think much of it at the time. Until 2 weeks later. The divorce bomb. I came home from work and the locks were changed. I thought it was a mistake. Then I saw a manila envelope taped to the door, divorce papers. No conversation. No warning. Nothing. I was blindsided. I tried calling her, no answer. Texted. Emailed. Finally got a message from her lawyer telling me to direct all communication through legal channels. The next day I had a voicemail from her. I'm done, Jason. I've outgrown this. I'll make sure you're taken care of, but I need to move on. Taken care of? She kicked me out of my own house, which my name was also on, and ghosted me like I was some Tinder date gone wrong. I was devastated. Not just by the end of the marriage, but by how cold it was. But then my lawyer reminded me, the prenup. The twist. Now here's where the story takes a turn. Remember how her parents insisted on a prenup? They wanted to make sure I never had a claim to their family money, trusts, properties, etc. But their lawyer went overboard and wrote it in a way that categorized any individual earnings or windfalls during the marriage, including lottery winnings, as joint marital property, unless they came from a trust or inheritance. Basically, if she earned it or won it while we were married, and it wasn't a gift, it was fair game. And since the ticket was purchased with marital funds, yep, our shared debit account, and cashed during the marriage, it was ours. Suddenly, I wasn't walking into a doomed divorce, I was walking into a jackpot split. I played it cool. Filed a response, requested mediation, and sat quietly while she scoffed at my requests. She thought the prenup protected her. She was laughing at me. Actually laughing in mediation. Said I'd be lucky to get a couch and a pat on the back. Then my lawyer pulled out paragraph 14, section 3 of the prenup and read it aloud. Her face. I will never forget it. Pale. Silent. Jaw slightly open. She muttered something about calling her lawyer, and the session ended awkwardly. The fallout. Long story short, her lawyer tried to argue that the lottery ticket was a personal windfall and that since she scratched it, it was hers alone. Except, it was purchased with our joint debit card. It was scratched in our kitchen. She even posted a video of it on Instagram, where I can be heard cheering in the background, saying, "We won." They tried to get that video scrubbed. Didn't work. Eventually, she folded. We settled. I walked away with just over $3.2 million. She had to sell the house to buy me out of my share. Her parents were furious at her. They tried to get involved, but their meddling prenup was what gave me the leverage in the first place. Melissa's social circle turned on her once the story got out. A few friends leaked it for clout. She moved back in with her parents temporarily, and last I heard, she was dating some yacht guy named Stefan, who was also broke. Me. I bought a modest home, invested most of the money, and opened a tech consultancy that's doing surprisingly well. Oh, and I framed the prenup. It hangs in my home office under a plaque that reads, "Always read the fine print." Edit. To everyone asking if I ever considered getting back with her after she tried to apologize a few months later, hell no. Some people only show you who they really are when they think they've won. Never again. You'd think that would be the end. But nope. Her parents weren't done yet. The clawback attempt. Roughly 3 weeks after the dust settled, I got a certified letter from a law firm I didn't recognize. Her parents' personal estate attorneys. Here's the TLDR. Melissa was operating with funds that were part of an informal family trust agreement. As such, the winnings fall under our client's estate interests. We are requesting the return of these funds or will be pursuing legal action to recover them. I laughed so hard I nearly choked on my protein bar. They were trying to argue that the $10 scratch-off ticket Melissa bought at a 7-Eleven with our shared debit card was somehow part of a family trust. Wild. My lawyer basically wrote a response that boiled down to, "LOL. See you in court." Okay, it was more professional, but you get the vibe. The legal circus. A few weeks later, we ended up in another mediation. This time it was me versus Melissa's parents. Melissa didn't even show. Their whole angle was that they, informally, gave Melissa an allowance that was meant to be held in trust, and therefore anything she bought with that money, even a lottery ticket, belonged to the trust. Here's where it gets delicious. My lawyer asked them for trust documentation, ledgers, disbursement records, taxes, anything. They were cocky. Said they'd bring it to the next session. But instead of real trust documents, they brought a typed letter on Word with no date, no signatures, no legal markings. Literally something like, "Melissa receives her funds as part of the Jackson Family Legacy Initiative, and she understands all assets remain under parental oversight." It looked like a motivational Pinterest post. My lawyer actually snorted. When asked for actual documentation, they got cagey. Suddenly, their real lawyer, not the estate puppet, jumped in and asked for a break. I smelled blood. Enter the feds. Now here's where it turns from petty revenge to nuclear. A friend of mine from college, let's call her Jenna, works for the IRS, specifically in estate audits. I mentioned the whole trust nonsense over drinks, just as a funny story, and her eyes lit up. Turns out, Melissa's parents have been on a low-key watch list for years. Nothing solid, Just whispers of shady gifting schemes, sketchy consulting payments to avoid taxes, that kind of thing. This trust BS. It reeked of unreported assets. With my permission, Jenna flagged the case for a light audit review. And boom, the government stepped in. The fallout, again. Within 3 months. The Jackson Family Trust, which apparently did exist, just not legally structured, was audited. Several consulting payments made to Melissa, Stefan, and a few of their friends were red-flagged. The allowances Melissa was receiving? Totally unreported. Millions in unpaid gift taxes. The family gallery was temporarily closed during a federal asset review. Rumor has it they'd been laundering money through art sales. Melissa tried to reach out, again. This time it was the classic, "We were good together. We can beat this as a team." I blocked her so hard I nearly broke my phone screen. The current status. Her parents are still under audit, and while I can't speak to details, thank you, Jenna, word on the grapevine is they'll owe mid-7 figures in back taxes and penalties. Possibly even criminal charges. Melissa had to move out of her $7,000 per month apartment and is now back in Palm Beach, living in her childhood home, which might be seized depending on what the IRS finds. Stefan left her for some crypto influencer in Miami. I think they run a podcast now called Money Mindset Kingdom or something equally cursed. Me? I'm chilling. My consultancy is growing. I bought a cabin in Colorado. I'm dating again, someone who doesn't treat brunch like a competitive sport. And every now and then, when I want to feel good, I pull out a copy of the Prenup, pour a drink, and whisper, "Thanks, Mr. Jackson." Edit, for those asking, yes, Jenna is a total badass. No, she didn't break any rules. She flagged the trust for her team to review. All above board. If anything, they sped things up because the Jacksons were already a known name. Let me know if you want part 3, how Stefan tried to sue me for defamation and accidentally doxed himself. Because, yeah. That happened too.